Chapter 60-74. Steve interrupted him. Okay, needless to say. This is Mr. Wade's territory. You must be respectful enough to ask your people to go back to the car and wait. You are not allowed to get out of the car until I come out. Steve knew very well that although the bodyguards he brought were all top agents. But it was all for nothing in front of Charlie. Not to mention that they were not qualified to hold guns in China. And their actual combat capabilities were greatly reduced. In this situation, if Charlie really wanted to punish him, it would make no difference whether they were there or not. Instead of doing this, he might as well just go up and follow the boss of Classic Mansion in front of him. Seeing Steve's insistence, the security consultant couldn't say anything more. So he took off his walkie-talkie from his waist and handed it to Steve. Sir, if you need anything, press the red button above and we will be there in time. No need. Steve waved his hand. If I carry this, Mr. Wade will definitely misunderstand me. After saying that, Steve didn't say anything more to him and came directly to Orville and said with a smile. Hello, I am Steve, please take me to see Mr. Wade. Orville nodded. Follow me. Steve followed Orville into Classic Mansion and all the way to the door of the diamond box. The door of the box was open at this time, so he could see Charlie sitting directly opposite the door at a glance. So, he hurriedly greeted him with a smile and said flatteringly, Mr. Wade, I finally meet you again. Charlie nodded, smiled, and said, Come on, Steve, sit down wherever you want. Steve looked at the large round table with more than 10 seats in front of him. He suddenly felt a little embarrassed. He doesn't know much about Chinese people's eating habits. This table is really huge. If he were to sit face to face with Charlie, he would probably have to speak louder. However, with such a big table and so many empty seats, if he forced himself to sit in front of Charlie, it would indeed seem a bit too flattering. Just when Steve didn't know what to do, Charlie directly patted the seat on his right and said with a smile, Sit here, Steve. This table is too big, and it looks unfamiliar to sit on. Why don't we just sit closer and look closer? Steve nodded quickly and came to sit next to Charlie. Charlie then pointed to the empty seat next to Steve and said to Orville, Orville, sit next to Steve. It's so familiar. Orville nodded. Okay, Master Wade. After Steve sat down, Charlie said, Come on, Steve, let me introduce you to you. The person next to you is my subordinate and the boss of Classic Mansion, Mr. Orville Hong. Steve quickly said politely, Hello, Mr. Hong. Orville smiled. You are welcome, you are welcome. Charlie pointed to Isaac beside him and introduced. This is the current butler of our Wade family. He is also the general agent of the Wade family, Mr. Isaac Chen. Steve nodded and said hurriedly, Hello, Mr. Chen. Nice to meet you. Isaac also said very politely, You're welcome. Charlie continued and said to Orville and Isaac, Orville, Isaac, this is the current heir to the patriarch of the famous Rothschild family, Mr. Steve Rothschild. There is an introduction to him in the encyclopedia. You can search and take a look. Both of them were very polite and said they were happy to meet, even though both of them were Charlie's subordinates. And Orville seemed to be a restaurant owner. Steve didn't dare to show off at all and said modestly, It's my honor to meet you too. You two will come to the United States. Please be sure to contact me and give me the opportunity to show my sincerity as a host. Charlie smiled and said, Steve is indeed hospitable and welcoming. We must have a few drinks later. After that, he said to Orville, Orville, let the waiter serve the cold dishes and liquor first, and let's chat while drinking. Okay, Master Wade. Orville hurriedly prepared the dishes. And the chef who had already prepared the dishes immediately asked the waiter to bring the dishes. Cold dishes were served one after another. Before Steve could recover, 9 waiters came in one after another and brought 8 cold dishes and a 5-pound bottle of vintage gin Ju Mao Tai. Just when Steve looked at the huge white wine bottle with a stunned expression, the waiter had already filled the wine dispenser in front of him, and then poured him another glass of wine. After the waiter left, Charlie picked up the wine glass and said with a smile, "Come, Steve, welcome to China. According to our rules, let's drink 3 glasses together first." Steve smelled the strong liquor taste and exclaimed, The alcohol content of this wine is not low, right?" Orville smiled and said, 53 degrees is high, a serious collection of Mao Tai. 53 degrees, Steve was shocked, blurted out. "Just drink 3 drinks first, Mr. Wade." Charlie smiled and said, "Guests can do as they please. Don't think I'm bullying you on purpose. This is the rule here. At the beginning of the meal, everyone has 3 drinks together." Charlie really didn't lie to Steve. The opening of 3 drinks was almost the rule at the wine shops in most cities in China. However, depending on the average amount of alcohol in the region, the alcohol content and the size of the wine glass would be different. For those with a high alcohol capacity, 3 glasses of high-strength liquor and at least 1 or 2 bases per cup. For those with a low alcohol capacity, 3 glasses of ordinary beer and at least 150 milliliters per cup. Steve also knew that Charlie would not lie to him, but he still had some doubts in his heart and murmured, I have also accepted banquets from Chinese people. But I have never drank like this." Charlie smiled and said, "With your status, how could anyone who invited you to dinner dare to force you to drink? Even if there is such a rule, I will never mention it when I meet you."